All right. Hello. So we're going to, I think in our video we got to the point where we had T helper 0 splitting into T helper 1 and T helper 2. I'll write these bigger so that you can see because I know that that glare is making everything beautiful for you. And we're going to tell the story of how this guy, T helper 0, T0 jobs, he's just hanging around in the lymph nodes doing 0 jobs until someone tells him to become either T helper 1, T helper 2. There are some other ones, but they're not what we're focusing on right now. It can also become the other 3 that we talked about in another video, but these are the ones that we care about at the moment. So, T helper 1, T helper 2, what makes T0 do a job? So, over here, we're going to go to the innate system for a bit because the adaptive system sits around until the innate system pokes it and says, do something. So we have to go back to the innate system. So this is blood vessel. These are cells. Okay. Doobie 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 doo. All right. So 2 super common types of infection exist. So there's viruses and bacteria. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with viruses. I'm going to make them little triangles. All right. So if you have a virus, they live inside the cell. Okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could go into. I'm going to start with just really simple here. Cells are always sampling what's inside them and waving it around up top. Okay? They do that on something called MHC class 1. MHC 1. That is a 1, not an I. It's a Roman numeral. So, the MHC class 1 is that thing there. I know it's too small for the video, so I made it bigger. You can remember the 1, which looks like an I because it's a Roman numeral, stands for inside. It is going to show what is inside the cell. Now, fun fact that he didn't touch on in lecture, but I think is helpful to know, is that the MHC class 1, yes, it will show viral particles. It also just, if there isn't a virus, there is still an MHC class 1. It just has normal stuff on it, stuff that is always found in the cell. So the cell is literally just grabbing stuff inside of itself and then waving it around. And it just grabs and waves and grabs and waves and grabs and waves. And if it has a virus particle that it's waving around, then obviously something's going to notice. If it's waving around a normal piece of inside self, then that's okay.
So it's essentially your flag corps.
Yeah. It's waving a flag around, and
flying their flags.
And it doesn't even know what kind of flag it's necessarily waving around all the time. It just is
That's what it does.
Throwing a flag out. Yeah. And so you have some cells that come along. So let's see which ones would be what we care about here. So there are a bunch of cells that can see that. And I'm going to say, let's say that nothing came along in time to see it and kill that cell. And then the virus burst open and sent out viral particles to infect other cells. Okay? So now these ones have virus. However, while there was one virus that was free, it managed to get eaten by a macrophage. Okay? The macrophage got it while it was free. Now, because it is a viral particle, the macrophage is going to show it on MHC class 1 because that's an internal type pathogen, and the macrophage knows the difference between the two. Okay? So the macrophage is going to go up here, and it will show that viral particle. This is a macrophage. And it's on an MHC class 1. MHC class 1 with virus. Okay, so it's showing a bit of the virus to the TH do nothing 0. All right? Once it sees that, then the Th0, assuming it's the right Th0 to bind to that antigen, is going to differentiate into a T helper 1, which is going to cause creation of, and with the blue marker here, it's going to cause creation of the cytotoxic CD8 positive T cells. Okay? And it's going to activate those. That's the letter D, I promise. All right. So, MHC class 1, T helper 1, they go together and they attack things that are inside. So that's showing something from inside. That's going to go and attack things that are inside. This cytotoxic T cell will come in and it will notice that now these cells have viral particles on their MHC class 1 sticking out. And the cytotoxic T cell will come in and it will see that MHC class 1 and kill that cell before it has viral spread. Okay?
Okay, wait, say that one more time. The cytotoxic T cell will come along, it'll recognize the virus that's on the MHC1.
Yep.
And it'll
kill it.
Kill the cell?
Yep, and all the virus inside of it.
And the virus inside of it, okay.
Yep, because right now that cell is making more virus because it's been hijacked.
Right.
And so the CD8, the cytotoxic T cell, is going to nuke it. Okay. And it does that with granzymes and perforin.
That's what I missed on the quiz. Granzymes and perforin.
All right. So, really quickly, so that's the MHC class 1 activation of Th0 to Th1 to cytotoxic T cells to killing the cell. Now what about MHC class 2? MHC class 2 is going to be not inside, but outside. So now I'm going to get rid of all these viral particles really quick. Actually, I'll just draw another one down here and I'll do it in a different color. That way you can have those. All right, so bloodstream, cells. All right, and we have a bacteria floating in the bloodstream and it's got stuff all over here. All right, probably it's going to be a macrophage. That is going to engulf this bacteria, and there are ways that make it more likely. You can remember that there's lots of things that make bacteria tasty for macrophages, like complement and other things that go all over the bacteria and then the macrophage eats it.
So that would be opsonization?
Yes, opsonization.
Tastier for the... Okay.
Yep, so just so you know where we are in the pathway, we're not going to talk about that just now, but we could say that this bacteria has been opsonized, so that would happen beforehand. And complement is part of innate or adaptive?
Innate.
Yep, good, innate. All right, so the macrophage eats this bacteria, and this bacteria gets taken in, and then the macrophage will go up, and I'll actually have the arrow go to the other side just so that we have different sides so that it's nice and easy. All right, so then we have a macrophage that comes up into the lymph nodes and says, hey, I found a thing. Now, because this was a bacteria and it's extracellular, it's going to be shown on MHC class 2. So I'm going to make bacteria an oval antigen. Okay? And this is MHC class 2. So if MHC class 2 is shown to the T helper 0, then it kicks it into gear to become T helper 2, differentiated, and then that is going to go ahead and activate B cells. And B cells are then going to go ahead and start making antibodies. Okay? So, that's a bit of an overview. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while we do some review. I'd encourage you guys to go ahead and go over side 1, MHC class 1, and side 2, MHC class 2. And note, MHC class 1, T helper 1, cytotoxic. MHC class 2, T helper 2, beta. And by the way, or not beta, B. And by the way that I remember B goes with 2 is to be or not to be. So, if you like that, good. If you don't, well, Philistine.